Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided.
This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy and other Eagan community television programming is supported by Thomson Reuters, makers of Westlawn Next and based in Eagan. Through Westlawn Next and other innovative online services, Thomson Reuters is the world's leading source of intelligent information for businesses and professionals. Online at thomsonreuters.com. And by U.S. Federal Credit Union, the member-owned financial institution offering service, value, and experience you can trust to the greater Twin Cities community.
Welcome. Access to Democracy returns, and we have a return organization, but first-time guests. And let's put it this way. When you hit 65, you're entitled to Social Security. Theater and Around, which is the oldest community theater in the Twin Cities, is about to start its 64th season. And Access to Democracy, by the way, is about to start its 17th season, so we outlasted Jon Stewart.
Congratulations.
We have with us Kelli, Gorr, Raney, and Hugh Kirsch. They are actors, they are members of the board, they are participants, volunteers.
Absolutely.
And actually, Hugh was just recently in Don't Drink the Water, if we can focus or do a little close-up on that, Chris. The Woody Allen show, I was there as my wife and I have been members for, since we moved to the Twin Cities 17 years ago. And she insists on giving a minor donation every year.
And again, we
Thank you for that, most importantly.
And Hugh appeared in Don't Drink the Water.
Yeah.
And actually, your husband, Joel Raney, was Father Dobney, and he happens to be sitting out of focus in the back of the room here.
It's all in the family.
It's all in the family. You people do so much for theater on a volunteer basis. And one of the things people have to know, and what we want to talk about a little bit more later on as we show some of the programs that are going to, or talk about some of the programs that are going to be featured this coming year, is the fact that, number one, the actors don't get paid. We get quality acting, real talent for these shows that last a month, and they don't get paid. It's hard to imagine.
There are other trade-offs, I think, that happen. I know when I graduated college, and I won't say when that was, one of the first things I was told is if I wanted to make a living doing theater and acting, I had to be seen at Theater in the Round. It's, as you said, going into 64th season. It's well respected around town.
Well run.
It's extremely well run. As a matter of fact, when I took a hiatus from theater for about 10 years, the very first place I went back to was Theater in the Round. And most of that was because of the way it was run.
It is in a town, in a city, or Twin Cities, that have so many terrific venues and so many out-of-work actors. But
if you want to act in this city, you can. There's no question. You know, I've asked cast members that just wrapped up Don't Drink the Water, what allows you to do free theater? You're obviously extremely talented, you have choices, and it comes down to just wanting to act where they can do it well. And Theater in the Round provides that. the question of, well, is it professional theater because they don't get paid? Well, is it professional theater if you get paid a $50 stipend for doing the show? Does that make a difference? I think we do professional quality theater, but it is still
Absolutely.
truly a community theater.
Well, I can relate to being a volunteer and doing something that you think is going to help the community, which is what this show has been doing for about this month. It'll start our 17th year, so for a long time. But we have attended Theater in the Round almost from the time we moved here 17 years ago. And we have season tickets. The shows are so professional that you really, really don't walk away disappointed. So we have some exciting things coming up for the coming year. Hugh, you started to say something.
Well, I was just going to say, you can walk away from a show at Theater in the Round and not have it maybe liked the script particularly, or not like the production, but I've never seen people, and this is not only acting in shows, but working as the board member on duty and hearing comments as you're going out, I've never heard anybody say, as a whole, the theater isn't doing what it should. There's a consistency there that I think people appreciate.
And there's a balance. For me, it's doing shows that the public wants to see and doing shows that actors want to act in, and
Right.
finding that balance.
And that's part of our mission within the theater, is to not only provide the community with quality and innovative theater, but the artistic community as well.
And you have an exciting season.
I love the
about-
64th season.
About to kick
a
off
very
the
nice
64th
season.
season,
Fantastic.
starting with an Aaron Sorkin play. We don't have a visual on that one. The Farnsworth Invention. Aaron Sorkin, who was one of the most talented writers around, the Newsroom for one, The West Wing for another, among his many
Come for the dialogue.
Yeah.
Come
Definitely.
for the dialogue with
Definitely.
Sorkin, absolutely. And I don't know if either of you are going to be in any of next year's performances.
Maybe. Remains to be seen.
Yeah. Got
Have
to
to
audition,
audition, you
one
know.
at a time.
You still audition.
absolutely.
Every show.
I can, over all the shows I've done at Theater in the Round over the years, there's probably as
after
many.
30 years. And
After 30 years, there is probably more actually that I've auditioned for that I haven't been cast.
Well, I might mention now, we'll try to mention it again, that anybody who wants to see what next season's productions are going
Yes.
to be, August 20th and or 21st.
21st and 22nd.
21st and 22nd, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you're absolutely right. For $30, you can preview all of next season's shows.
And this is going to
that's
be a
pretty
blast.
exciting. So
We've got director Shannon Custer. She's well known in the Twin Cities theater community. She's hilarious, who is directing and emceeing the show. And you're going to see little snippets from each upcoming show of the 64th season. As an actor who will be in the preview, we don't know what show is going to be called on next during the actual previews. The audience decides which show in the 64th season they want to see a snippet from.
Okay, well, we've talked about the one that's going to kick off the season on September 11th, which is the Farnsworth Invention. Next, we have 1,000 Clowns, which is illustration number 1 that we have, if we can bring that up. There we are. Herb Gardner, also a well-known name.
Absolutely.
And 1,000 Clowns, which will be in October, on the 16th to November 8th.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
It was a very sweet comedy.
Yeah. A lot of people know it. It was, I believe, Jack Lemmon film. Jack Lemmon played the lead. And it's an interesting, like Kelly said, sweet comedy. I think people will really enjoy it. It's about a gentleman and his young nephew.
An eccentric gentleman.
Yeah, quite eccentric.
Come for the laughs, but be prepared to be tugged at with the heart.
Yeah.
And by the way, how do you pick the shows that are going to be on the next season?
The theater has a play selection committee, and it's made up of some board members and also people who just have been involved with the theater for a lot of time. Interestingly enough, there are no people who direct at the theater or act at the theater allowed to be on that committee. I think it kind of keeps our own personal interest out of it.
There's a lot of people that like to read plays
that
on
too.
that committee.
And the committee reads plays, and they go see theater around town, and then they bring the board back a slate for what they think should be, and the board talks through it. It's looked at from many different ways. Like we talked about earlier, appeal to the artistic community, appeal to the audience, how we look at it in terms of roles, men versus women.
Well,
That
you
sort
do
of thing.
everything from Shakespeare
Right.
to musicals.
We try and build an eclectic season that people are going to want to come see.
In an incredible facility
Oh.
on Cedar Avenue. I think it's 245, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a small facility. It's a small arena surrounded by about 300 seats, 300 and some seats.
Yeah.
And what you do with it in terms of changing it from show to show is nothing less than incredible.
No doubt it's challenging to direct and put a set together in the round, but it always amazes me what our designers do with that space. You're right, it's pretty incredible.
I think also one of the advantages of that building is that it is our building in total. So while you're watching a show going on, there's another show rehearsing upstairs with a layout identical to what's on the floor. The next show is being built in the scene shop. So there's even though we do 9 shows a year, there's a transition rhythm, I guess you would say, that goes in and out of that space.
It's Fridays, Saturdays, and weekends, right?
Yeah.
Sundays.
Yep.
Sunday afternoons.
Performance,
Yeah. One of the nice things, and we'll talk about that when we talk about tickets, is that you can get a flex pass. You can get either a particular night that you want to come every month, or you can get a flex pass where your commitments change, and you can still get there on a different night.
The other side to that, and I always think it's a real boon for the theater, is that we're one of the few theaters around anymore that when you make your reservations, you don't pay for your tickets. You don't pay for them until you pick them up. So like you said, life happens. If you can't go to the show that night,
At least you're not going to be out.
you're not going to be out your money. We hope you'll reschedule. But
Oh yeah, we hope you come back.
yeah, we've discussed that many times at the board, and it always comes down to the same thing. No, this is service to the ticket holders.
Well, the next show we're going to talk about is an Agatha Christie, and that is always a sellout.
Yep.
Black Coffee by Agatha Christie, and that's November 20th to December 20th. And there it is up on the board.
There's an interesting thing about this particular Agatha Christie. It's not one of the better known ones, I would say.
It's her first with Hercule.
It's her only with Perrault in it, because she doesn't like the character of Hercule. I can never pronounce it.
I can never pronounce
Hercule
his name.
Perrault.
Hercule Poirot.
She loved him in books. She didn't think his character translated well onto the stage. This is the only play that character appears of hers.
And the next production after that is certainly one everybody has heard of, Ray Bradbury, and a very ambitious Fahrenheit 451.
Yes.
Well, and I've always heard of it in book form, certainly read it in high school as part of the curriculum, but I didn't realize there was a play version of it, so this is kind of exciting.
And he wrote it.
Oh.
Bradbury wrote the script for this as well as the book. So you've got a continuity there between the original source material and the play version.
And then we have Shakespeare next. We don't have the visual on that, but Shakespeare's Richard III, and that's in February.
Yep.
Just in case you need something more depressing in a Minnesota February,
Come see Richard
you can come out for Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And moving on, we have, well, not chronologically, but The House of Blue Leaves,
Yes.
John Gay's, House of Blue, again, another name that certainly anybody who goes to theater will recognize. Maybe we can bring that up. That's number 5, Raven.
That's a
From
very
April to May.
very interesting show. It's very, what you got, quirky,
Yeah.
dark
Well, and the
comedy.
season is full of kind of eccentric, quirky comedies with giant casts.
Yeah.
The Pope is coming to Yankee Stadium. Yeah.
Right, and this particular show, House of Blue Leaves, is being directed by the gentleman who directed Don't Drink the Water.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
Yeah.
we think he does a pretty good,
Good job. Yep.
That was really an ambitious production. In fact, our last guest, who just left here, Patrick Klinger, was with us
Oh, yeah.
the night that we were there, and saw you in it, as well as Father Dobney, who's hiding back in the behind the cameras. And I guess Joel has appeared for a long time in the theater
Both
as
Hugh
well.
and Joel have done lots of shows at theater
Yeah.
in the round.
For a couple of young guys, that's really.
Thank you.
And we have The Secret Garden in March 18th to April 17th. These shows run 4 weeks, right?
do. Right.
Yeah. And there it is there. Sylvia Ashby.
What I love about this is that we are starting to do shows, or we're starting to make sure there's a consideration for generations in our season. So last season we had
Anna Green.
Anne of Green Gables, and it was so fun because you watched the generations come in. You watched grandma and mom and the daughter come in and see it together, and I expect that we'll see a lot of that generational patronage with this show as well.
This has to be a very challenging one in terms of set production also.
Yeah.
We'll see. We
Yeah.
know it's not the musical version, so we should probably mention that it's not the musical.
And then, let's see, jumping over to July, which is probably the last show of the season, we have Jeeves Intervenes, and July 8th to 31st. Now, it's from the stories of P.G. Wodehouse, who everybody, again, interested in theater, will be familiar with, but this is not a show that I am familiar with at all. So let's give us a little background on that one.
Well, what's nice is it's in that summer slot, just like Don't Drink the Water. When you're looking for something lighter, you're looking for comedy, it's just English-British farce.
Yep.
It's so fun.
Real out there characters in
Out there
absurd
characters
situations.
with English accents.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, this takes a lot of work in and of itself. The characters that people are not only volunteering, but you're taking on the accents of the characters
Sometimes.
that you're portraying. And
Some are better than others.
Oftentimes, if you've got a show that's has a lot of accent work in it, they will often bring in a dialect coach to work. We had one for Don't Drink the Water for a number of different accents, and for British shows often as well too.
And I haven't seen that. I don't know that you've had other Woody Allen shows, but I don't remember another Woody
This is
Allen
the
show.
only one that I can remember us
And it
doing
was
in a
his
while.
first. This was his first
but
theater effort.
What was interesting was that at the same time we were playing Don't Drink the Water, he only wrote like 4, I believe, plays, and one of his other 4 was Play It Again, Sam, and that was playing in Bloomington at the same time we
Yes.
were. And Woody Allen missed them both by a week. He was just in town with his band.
Right.
Yeah.
And he has a new show that is a new movie that's been moderately reviewed, Irrational Man, that's playing
Oh, that's
locally
right.
now.
That's right.
It's, in fact, it just got to Egan today. Of course, by the time you see this next week,
It'll be out.
It'll be out.
it'll be gone. But the next one we have certainly is very familiar to everybody, Sense and Sensibility.
Yeah.
If we can bring up that one. And that's going to be in June of next year.
It's a great spring show.
Jane Austen, based on her novel. And it's a name, again,
Yep.
that's very familiar. A period piece.
And British.
And British.
More accents.
Well, we rely on so much for our theater from the British. But just across the pond. So
We haven't done it for a long time, but for a while there, if there's going to be a Shaw piece going on in town, it was at Theater in the Round.
Of George Bernard Shaw.
George Bernard
absolutely.
Shaw.
is that right?
Yeah.
There are some go-to playwrights. Agatha is certainly one of them. George Bernard Shaw
Law
is
is
one of
another
them. Who else do we often see? Alan Ayckbourn
Yep.
Yes.
is another one we often see at Theater in the Round. And they just bring us good scripts.
Yeah.
And they get good productions. in
They
return.
do.
Yeah.
Now you have to buy the rights to show these shows.
Sure.
Is that right?
Sure. Except with Shakespeare, of course.
Shakespeare doesn't mind
Yeah.
if we
We
use
do
his
shows.
material.
He's in the public domain.
Yeah, he's there by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, I want to mention the preview party, which is available to anybody who's
Yep.
watching.
Open to the public.
$30.
It's going to be
Just
so
make a
fun.
reservation.
Yep.
It's either August 21st or 22nd.
Yep.
I don't know which night we will be there, but
You're going to be there?
oh,
Great.
sure.
Fantastic.
Oh, sure.
Fantastic.
Sharon and I try to get to that one every year. We don't always, 'cause sometimes it conflicts with a vacation, but
Well, that's part of the reason it's 2 nights now. It used to be a 1-night only type of thing, and we expanded.
People are
because
busy.
people were saying, oh, if it was only on the other night, so we gave them the other night.
so let's talk about the cost of a ticket.
Sure.
Yeah, you want to go for one night, you pay an exorbitant $22.
That's exorbitant?
No,
Yeah, I was going to say, if you look at some of the other theaters in town,
How long has it been since we raised season ticket prices?
10 years.
10 years.
remember how much Woody Allen's band got when they did their show on August 2nd here? Your tickets could cost you into $200.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. No, it's a very good value.
it is. And there's certainly discounts for different populations,
That's
whether
it.
senior or students. Absolutely. We've had fringe discounts in the past, I believe. I think it is so appropriately priced. I don't think it's too high. I don't think it's
Well, I
too
have
low.
right here, the season ticket, $144
Sure.
for all the plays.
All 9
that-
shows.
Which is unbelievable.
You know, if you think about it in terms of cost, even if you walk in off the street at $22 a person, if you are going to go with somebody to the movies, you're paying what, $11, $12 a ticket now? So you're already up over that cost.
It's getting up there.
Yeah.
It is. Because I'm a double senior, so I don't pay
Oh,
quite
okay,
that
there you
much.
go.
A double senior.
Yeah, last
Was what?
year I had my second 40th birthday.
Oh, there you go.
So,
Job.
Good job.
and you can get a Flex Pass. And let's talk
Yeah.
about the Flex Pass because that's what we have done for years. You never know what's going to come up on your schedule. So you go Friday night or maybe Saturday night or Sunday afternoon. And the Flex Pass is what, $135, I
They're
think.
really reasonable. And
Yeah.
yeah, it gives you that flexibility to be able to come when you want to come.
Right.
It's a nice venue. Usually there's one intermission with most of these plays, and you have not only artwork displayed in the area where you would relax between acts, but you also have food available,
Yep.
reasonably priced.
We have concession
Drinks.
stands.
Yeah, we have concessions before and during intermission. I'm glad you mentioned the art gallery. That is open to the public as far as if you are an artist and you have a medium you'd like to show, whether it's sculpture or paintings or photography. You can contact the theater. I believe they are completely booked for the 64 season, but that is a space that you can book and be able to have your own exhibit.
Now, what is little known is that I actually have a movie career, and people are not aware that I was in a locally filmed movie, which was well received, Patrick Coyle, Into Temptation.
Right.
And when they're looking for somebody to play somebody who's dead or dying,
Is that you, Alan?
I sometimes get a call, which is what happened
What a great resume.
with Into Temptation. And we spent 3 hours in the HCMC one night, and I was on screen for all of 8 seconds. We did 5 takes. It took the whole evening, and I had 8 seconds of dying.
You got me beat. A number of years ago, I did a film that was filmed here, and there's a screening. I got my wife there, my friends. Every scene I shot was cut. The only scene with me was at the end, and it was my back walking away. So you did better than I did.
Film is very different from being on stage.
Oh, yes.
No question.
Yeah, I don't generally go to tryouts. I did for the Woody Allen movie, in which it looked like I was going to get the role of the older rabbi, but they went and got an older rabbi.
Yeah, they'll do that to you.
It was cruel, cruel.
Sorry to hear that.
So anything, we have about 2 minutes left, the time does fly, that you would like to add for our viewers, and we're going to give you a copy of the DVD to do with what you want.
Thank you. I would just say to the viewers that whether you want to come see good quality theater, whether you want to have an itch because you used to do high school theater and you want to get involved again, or if you just want to see what it's about, contact the theater. We are open to volunteers on all different levels, from ushers to house managers to behind the scenes people working in the
fact,
booth.
ushers who work go for free.
Yes.
Go for free and
We
get to
should
see the
mention
show.
that, yeah.
But actors, anybody, please come
There's an
visit us.
opportunity for every type of person. If
Well,
you
I'm
want
going to keep that in mind if you have any openings for a dying old man.
Okay.
sure we could fit you in, Alan.
Maybe the 65th season.
Non-speaking part, but
okay.
it's that's the ambit of my talent, but what can I say? But it's been a pleasure to have the two of you here and to be able to preview before the preview, although I urge people to go in August on the 21st and 2nd, or 22nd and 3rd.
Yeah.
It's going to be a blast.
21st and 22nd,
It'll be
yeah.
Theater
so
and Around
fun.
players, you can find them online, and it's just a wonderful experience, a reasonable experience, and thank you both so much for coming in here.
Thank you so much, Alan.
Thank you for
Kelli?
having us.
Thank you.
And Hugh.
Thank you.